Billy was shaking with fear, and I said to him quietly, I think we should be wearing the hat. He says, I agree. But can you see the point? It's possible for a man to be bareheaded, but is he reflecting the glory of God and the glory of Christ? It's possible for a woman to be covered, but is she in submission to a husband of love? Can you see the point? Getting externals right, just externals, never bring revival. If we live them out, it would. So can you see they were saying, get the externals right and we'll see blessing. But my dear friends, we've got to live out those symbols and then we'll see the blessing. So I want you to watch this very carefully. The two sons of Eli are bearing the ark. I want you to look at their dress. Pure white bonnets, pure white garments, pure white trousers. No flesh would be seen apart from the flesh on their faces. They're holding on their shoulders, probably with the help of the Levites, the holy ark. And in that ark, there are 10 commandments on 2 stones. Think of it. And one of those commandments says this, thou shalt not commit adultery. One of those commandments says, thou shalt not steal. One of those commandments says, thou shalt have no other gods beside me. And look at the gods they had. But externally it looked great, looked wonderful. There's the Levites with the priests. There's the ark all shining with gold. On the shoulders of these 2 priests with their immaculate white garments. But what was happening? Deep in their hearts there was immorality. They were spiritual robbers. They had let the light almost go out. Now I must be careful. I am now before the Lord. Is there a sister here that's covering immorality? Is there a young brother that's lost his purity? Is there a husband that has another affair at the office? Is there a businessman here and you're not honest in business? Is there sin among us? My dear friends, we can have all the explosion of emotion, but if there is sin among us, no matter what the symbolism might be and what the externals might be, we shall never see revival. Never. So they bring the ark into the camp. And when all the soldiers and when all the people see it, there's an explosion of emotion. And it's so great, it seems so glorious, that the writer says, note this, the earth rang. And quite frankly, it was so convincing that when the Philistines heard the noise of this great shout, they said, woe unto us! God is coming to the camp. Notice that. They knew once God was among Israel, once his power was in the dwelling place of God, they hadn't got a dog's chance. They knew that. And there was this great explosion of emotion, and it looked like a mighty revival, but it was covering up sin. You can deceive your greatest enemy, but you can't deceive God. Brothers, I'm not going to throw stones at the charismatics. I'm not going to throw stones at other brethren who are in the Lord's work. But I've seen that emotion in my ministry. And I've been before the Lord. I remember going to one city and the mission started in depression. And then God seemed to work. And the main hall was filling up, and then it filled to such an overflowing extent that they had to use another neutral hall, and that filled up, and then there was another hall used, until I was told there was a long queue of people waiting to go in, and it all looked like revival. 40 people professed conversion. And then 6 months after all that emotion, the earth ringing, people went back to the normal prayer meeting, and there was just a handful. Just a handful. One day my wife and I were in serious prayer, and we got up from our knees, and she said, "You know, Peter, a lot of our work is just 3 weeks of excitement. And then it's over. You see, it's the earth ringing." And as I confess this to you, I confess it with bitter tears. I don't want to see again the earth ringing. I want to hear the thunder of heaven. Don't you? Don't you long to see a genuine movement of God? You wouldn't be here otherwise. And we've got to be honest about a lot of our work. I have used all kinds of gimmicks. I say this with shame. And it looks as though there is revival, but it's very artificial. It doesn't last. It boils down to nothing. And I think we have seen that for over 50 years. Well, after all the fuss and all the thunder, they're joined together in battle. The Philistines were quaking because if this really was the manifestation of God, therefore if the true house of God was there, God was in the midst. And they wouldn't stand a chance. And therefore they appealed to all their natural strength, and they were saying, "Be strong and quit yourselves like men and fight." And when they fought with the Israelites, there was mass slaughter. I want you to look at this inevitable tragedy and defeat. I want you to come with me now, figuratively. Let's take our shoes off. And let's walk across that battlefield. 33,000 circumcised young men dead, slaughtered because of counterfeit revival. As we look at some of those young men, we say, what are their wives doing? Poor things. What about the parents?